Definitely feels like this is turning out to be the longest 2D Metroid we've done. Understandable, since this is the most recently made game we've done so far. Does that mean that Super Metroid is going to turn out to be one of the shortest, since it's the oldest we'll be going through? Of course, regardless of if it's the longest or shortest, Super Metroid is certainly going to be more atmospheric than this. And of course, it's going to advance the story past the point that we've fought through 2 games in. That's certainly plenty to look forward to, sure. The story in the 2D Metroids isn't especially amazing or detailed, but it's still kind of fun. After all, so far we went through Samus's first major mission, taking out Mother Brain and a number of pirates on the world she was raised and trained on. Some games would have had her go through some flashbacks as she traveled all over the place. But I suppose just seeing that one little sketch she did on a wall was heartwarming enough to get it across. Also a bit of a shame, though, that so few of the things she killed in that first major mission are going to stay dead for the rest of the series. That honestly kind of hamstrings her accomplishments from the first game. Sure, Nintendo is typically more interested in making fun games than especially engrossing stories, at least if the flagship series Mario has anything to say about it. I've heard there's some damn good writing for the role-player spin-offs of Mario, but in the main series, there are a number of recurring villains and monsters, and the main threat is typically just, oh, the princess has been kidnapped. Yeah, but Mario and his cast of characters can get away with that, since their world doesn't actually try to make the stakes feel especially high for the most part. The Metroid series tries to play things far more seriously, which means villains coming back after we explicitly kill them in a game is just a bit awkward. Thankfully, I don't think of Other M as canon, and it seems Nintendo agrees that particular story isn't worth considering part of the whole tapestry of the franchise anymore. Though, gameplay-wise, it can still be kind of fun if you can get by the bad story. So at least that means that Mother Brain only has one more appearance left in her, as far as I know. Though I wonder when I'm going to get sick of running into Ridley, considering just how many times he shows up in this series. Guess we'll find out as we keep pushing forward. Why did I even bother setting off a super bomb there when I know it wouldn't have done anything other than temporarily blind me? Really wish I had more to say about the T-Rex at this point. Unfortunately, it's still a damage sponge and somehow doesn't feel as interesting to fight against than any of the earlier, weaker forms. There's only so much you can do with a slow powerhouse that telegraphs its attacks this much, after all, when you've faced a handful of them already. And that does it! The last of the Metroids in this area. All that's left is the Queen herself. And of course all the baby Metroids at birth trying to make up for us killing every other Metroid on the planet. Going to be a bit of a long jog to get back to the acid toilet from here, though. Right. Not surprised that we can't just drop down from here. Too much rock between us and the lower area. Still, it felt worth a shot. Not even sure what I was hoping to find in this alternate path. All I know is we didn't find it, so let's just keep moving towards the acid toilet. Presumably the last one we'll ever run into in the entire game. may as well save before this next major push. Again, can't help noticing that we don't gain super bombs from killing regular enemies. Or maybe I just got unlucky on that front. Why do we even need that shortcut created by the grapple beam if... never mind. I really shouldn't be questioning the map design in this game this far in when we've already figured out they love to just throw stuff around for the sake of it. I should probably feel more worried about the Metroid Queen than the maze we just saw right below us. Oh, come on. Again, I'm pretty sure that AM2R didn't go out of its way to make navigation this much of a pain in the ass. I know these are minor obstacles that are only meant to slow us down for maybe about a minute, and given the mostly linear nature of the game, we have little reason to want to head back to previous areas as we move on. Still, we've run into a lot of these various blockades and all that. We've also run into a lot of barriers since the start that explicitly cannot be breached without the baby Metroid, which was supposed to be the end of the game. But those barriers are a spoiler for the fact that there's going to be more once we're actually finished with the main story. As far as we've gone in this game so far, the additions to the game are the Aeon powers, that one robot that took too long to get rid of, the various puzzles getting more complicated at every turn, more constant enemies, and the Metroids becoming more complicated fights. None of that really gives us a hint of what we're supposed to deal with once the Metroid Queen is dead. And since the only other major addition along those lines was that robot, which showed up at some rather spread out points, I'm more than a little hungry for whatever other fresh stuff comes. Well, that little robot was officially more trouble than he was worth. Okay, rather odd setup for the floor there. Honestly, kind of amazed I managed to make it to the ceiling. Right, another elevator. Just how many elevators are there in this game? I haven't been keeping track. Should I be worried about how large that area looks in comparison to the other 8 major areas? Died the absolute instant he disabled our Aeon powers. Iffy timing on his part. Definitely not surprised this game isn't giving us the same lack of life on the way to the final fight here. Annoying, but to be fair, this game has a very fun combat system and a long period of not having even the easily killed enemies to deal with. Might have felt like a waste to some of the people making this, but again, that kind of killed any attempt at atmospheric tension building here. It's actually kind of funny that the only moments that I can think of in this game where I felt tension were when we ran into the very first Metroid at the start, and when we were running away from the robot's drill. Whereas AM2R and Zero Mission felt like there was a constant pressure, even if the regular enemies were painfully forgettable, and the bosses weren't especially complicated for the most part. Well, they're certainly making this climb a pain in the ass, that's for sure. May as well save since it took us a fair bit of effort just to get this far in. Now, if only I had some idea of how much further to the area where baby Metroids start trying to swarm us. I seem to recall in AM2R that the baseline Metroids were more scary to deal with than the numerous supposedly more powerful forms we'd fought throughout the game. I'm interested to see if that's still the case. As a side note, just what is that yellow liquid supposed to be? In some ways it looks similar to the gunk that would prevent us from using the spider ball in some areas, but I have the distinct feeling that we'd still be able to use the spider ball when covered in the stuff. Assuming I was willing to try when it's quicker to just jump around at this point. Mildly annoying to get to that missile upgrade. Right, just a bit off with my timing there. Definitely not important enough to put so much time and effort into it, but at least it gave me something to do for a bit other than just wonder when we're gonna get to the next major encounter. At the very least, I doubt I'm having 3 more regular missiles would make any real difference in the overall fight against a Metroid Queen when we get to her. She's certainly not gonna get the same half-assed treatment that the rolling boss we dealt with so long ago in this LP ended up getting, that's for sure. Really? This far in, we're still seeing little shortcuts that could be open if we managed to get to the other side? I would think with how close we are to the Queen, that we'd stop running into that sort of thing. But then, I'm not a game designer. I'm just someone who's gone through quite a number of games by this point. Sure, not a lot of them are in this specific genre, but I feel like I've learned something about game design as a whole, after about 3 decades of seeing several different approaches to different universes. Again, why did I even bother trying to screw attack something that explicitly explodes as its only form of attack? We're 26 clips into this thing and getting pretty close to the end. Sure, we haven't been seeing those explosive enemies for the entire game, but you'd think I'd still have a better grasp of what I can and can't get away with doing against when we're this close to the end. Literally less than a second away from getting hurt by that laser. And it's equally funny that we've had numerous instances while climbing towards the queen of killing enemies we didn't even see. What was even the point of giving us an enemy up there if we needed the super bomb to move on? And the thing would have been caught in the blast radius even as we didn't even see it! Honestly, should have seen that one coming, especially for something like an energy tank. Huh. Could have sworn that was an energy tank, not a super bomb expansion. Not that we're desperate for more health, since we already look pretty tanky for this stage of the game. Okay, bit of an annoying spot to have to reach, but at least we're not too far away from those blocks. Though again, I feel the need to complain about the fact that the minimap does not show walls within the room we're in, just the boundaries of the room itself. This is a massive room with a lot of smaller mazes inside of it, and it's really hard to plan out how to navigate the room if you don't acknowledge the various walls, platforms, and small tunnels within that room. Again, the older Metroid titles did not have this kind of issue. The rooms in those games were less complicated, so generally the things that didn't register on the minimap were few and far between. But here, the minimap is just too basic for what is actually going on in these areas, even as it points out the various save points, Aeon energy points, and upgrades we can find along the way. I'm kinda hoping that when we finally get to Metroid Dread, I see the minimap takes more things into account, or they just don't make so many complicated rooms. I'm probably making a mountain out of a molehill, but hey, if it itches at me, and sometimes the best ways to kill time, as you move from point to point, is to point out the things that itch at you, to help keep things rolling. As a side note, I did not expect to be able to kill that one with just one bomb. Actually kinda satisfying the way it was pulled off. Well, this is certainly an annoying bit of navigation in order to reach that next upgrade. I know, technically speaking, I could just ignore the upgrade and keep trying to find my way to wherever the next door is. But while I'm feeling pretty fatigued this far into the game, I'm not exactly begging for mercy here either. So apparently some sections of my brain are shutting down, or at least they were when I was recording this particular segment. Not an especially hard puzzle to figure out, but if you're starting to fall asleep, it can make you go, what the hell is going on here? Now, just where am I supposed to go from here? Not even sure why I thought those enemies wouldn't respawn in the amount of time it took for me to come back this way. Yeah. Rather not lose all our air and energy to just one annoying little bot. For all I know, I'm gonna need plenty of it against the Queen. Okay, so a rock decided to fall down in the background there. I'd probably feel more concerned by that if the Queen was allowed to do earthquakes and fury across the entire game as we killed Metroids across the planet, like back in the original and the fan remake, but unfortunately, I'm too busy thinking about the various immediate threats in this room and the various obstacles in our way over the next major threat that's gonna be coming soon enough. Not entirely sure if that's a good or bad thing overall, it's just something I noticed. Okay, so apparently I'm not even gonna bother with that upgrade. Wish I could remember why I made that decision. Another save point, and I see no reason not to use it. Now, I could have ended the clip right at that point, but hey, may as well go for just a little bit longer, since apparently the next save isn't that far away from here. Close enough for the Metroid detector to start pulsing. That can't be the Queen herself, so it's probably the various babies that are registering. Cue the counter rising up for a bit. There we go! Okay, so the ice beam doesn't keep them frozen for long, and its attack is nothing we can explicitly counter. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I am downright terrified of dealing with these things. Their attack pattern is as simple as it gets. Just chase after us and latch on until we die. But that's all it needs. And again, I find it funny that the one stage in its entire life cycle when it's the single most dangerous is when it's recently born and fragile. Come on! Okay, the second was easier to kill since we already figured out the gimmick for the things after the first one. Still, even if they're quicker to kill than the most mature forms, there's just so little we can do once it starts attacking that it's hard not to feel intimidated by them. Seriously, how does it even make sense that the weakest, youngest Metroids make me more scared to deal with them than the rather large and durable T-Rexes? Well, we're certainly tearing through the final defenses for the Queen at a good pace. Right, of course we'd get a room with two at the same time, just as I said that. But at least the first blocked the second for a bit, that's a small mercy. Mercy, I'm pretty sure the other games just did not show us at all. Right, so ammo and health stations, neither of which we need right now. Still, good to know we've got a place to fall back to if things really go from bad to worse. Ah, son of a bitch. Well, at least that one isn't getting the chance to ambush me in midair. The way that organic wall looked, I thought we could run through it like an archway. Ah well, not that big of a deal. And that does it. Once again, the only Metroid left for us to deal with is the Queen. It sounds like the Queen really doesn't appreciate that. Ah well, we'll be dealing with her next time. For now, I'm just gonna breathe a sigh of relief that we're so damn close to the end. Even if when I look at the raw footage, there's no way this is gonna be the end in just one more clip. As a side note, I have no clue why the game decided to do that weird thing with the music when I paused there.